Welcome back to another episode of the Real Friends podcast, and today is a pretty monumental day. We are wrapping up our first ever movie series, so we are reviewing Back to the Future 3, and once again, I'm not going to put you on the spot this time, but Jordan is back, and we're ready to talk about the conclusion to one of the best trilogies ever made. So, what's up, Jordan?
Not much, Alex. Thanks for having me back again. Uh, Goodness gracious, this is probably it might be my least seen Back to the Future movie, but it is definitely up there as one of my favorite Back to the Future movies.
Yeah, I had
It hits all the
forgotten.
westerns.
I had forgotten how much I liked this movie, and I watched it the same day I watched Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven, which is the episode's coming out in a couple days. Like, just to, it's everything a western should be and everything you don't want a western to be, wrapped into one.
If there was a definition of spaghetti western, I think that this is like macaroni and cheese western.
This
It's so
craft
sloppy.
specifically.
Yeah, it's like such a sloppy dish, but damn, is it good.
That's good. That's a really good comparison. So before,
So I was gonna ask you what I was thinking here. It's getting close to the end of the month, Alex. What kind of movies have you seen up to this point, and what are you excited to see in April? Because I'm looking forward to a working man as long as my work schedule works out next week.
yeah, we're supposed to see a working man here on Friday. So, well, the day this comes out.
Hmm.
So, I talked about how March was going to be a great month for movies, and so far it has not disappointed. So just a few I've seen. So on the 7th, a bunch of movies came out. Dave Bautista's In the Lost Lands came out. That was a pretty fun, like, it felt a little like Underworld. It's from the mind of George R. R. Martin, so it's pretty good. Post-apocalyptic. It wasn't the most beautiful movie. It was very grungy looking. But all I wanted was a fun movie that Dave Bautista kicked ass, and that's what I got. So, big fan. A movie you would love, Queen of the Ring. It's a wrestling movie.
I was listening to Jim Cornette's podcast recently, and he's actually in a big wrestling manager from the 80s, 90s, etc. And it's shot in Louisville for a lot of the different scenes there. And Jim Cornette lives in Louisville. He grew up there and everything else, and he still lives there since he's retired. And he makes an appearance in the movie as
Okay.
he was going over. They were doing some light advertising for it. It's his first and probably only feature motion picture thing. But yeah, Queen of the Ring. From everything I'm hearing, it's sounding to be a very good historical piece on Mildred Burke, I believe.
Yep. Mildred Burke. Yep.
So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, no, it was awesome, dude. I walked out of that and I said, "Why don't we do more wrestling movies?"
Hmm.
Like wrestling movies, it should be so easy, right? Because wrestling is already scripted, and it's already purely for entertainment. So why don't we just put that in movies? It's so entertaining. And I know you're a huge wrestling guy. I love wrestling, but I don't know anything about wrestling history at all. So this is how I get it. So now I want to watch Iron Claw. Now I want to watch The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. I want to watch all these movies because give me these instead of wrestlers pretending to be actors and making crappy action movies. Give me these movies. They're awesome.
Quote the fella from a YouTube video since you said wrestling scripted. It's still real to me, damn it.
It's still real to me. So yeah, that came out in the 7th. Very good. I love that movie. Another movie that came out in the 7th and kind of messed me up. It's called The Rule of Jenny Penn. It's a movie with John Lithgow, and it's about a nursing home. And John Lithgow has this little doll that he calls Jenny Penn, and he just terrorizes the other residents. It is a wild horror movie. I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
And these stills from the movie look kind of insane.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. John Lithgow is just absolutely insane in it. And then the biggest movie of the month, Mickey 17, also came out on the 7th. So we reviewed that over on the Forest Film Club. So go check that one out. It was fine. It was a fine movie. I was expecting it to be awesome because it was Bong Joon-ho coming off of Parasite, Robert Pattinson, Mark Ruffalo, Naomi Ackie, all these people, and it was fine. It was a movie that's probably going to be forgotten. It was certainly Robert Pattinson's greatest performance he's ever given. But in terms of a movie, it was just fine. So.
Okay.
And then an animated movie came out on the 7th that was really, really fun. Night of the Zoopocalypse. I had seen trailers for it, and I didn't think it was going to get in theaters close to me, but it did. And it was really, really fun. It's about like this alien comes into the zoo and turns all of the animals into zombies. And so the animals that don't get turned into zombies have to work together to extinguish the disease or the virus or whatever.
Apparently, this was inspired by a short story from Clive Barker called Zombies.
Oh, nice.
I'll have
Nice.
to check out what Zombies was there, but I've enjoyed some of Clive Barker's work, so the fact that it's been adapted into what looks like a young teenager movie there with some tongue-in-cheek stuff that seems pretty cool.
It's definitely a movie that could have been made for kids, but I don't think it's a kids movie.
Okay, I
So,
haven't seen it, so just looking at the animation and whatnot, I get it.
yeah.
Adults can enjoy animation. I mean, hell, we're
Yeah.
going to talk about Who Framed Roger Rabbit here someday. So,
Right. Think
um,
think like Madagascar mixed with like just kind of a B-rate horror movie. That's kind of what you're getting with this.
that sounds fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Couple other movies came out on the 7th that I haven't seen, like Rule Breakers, and the Plankton movie. So whatever. On the 14th, we got actually, we got four absolute bangers that I've seen already. The first one is the new Looney Tunes movie, The Day the Earth Blew Up. That is everything I wanted in a Looney Tunes movie and more. It just felt like they took an episode and made it a full-length movie, but it wasn't too long. It wasn't stretched out. It was great. It's so good that, last week they were like, okay, well, first of all, Warner Brothers can suck an egg because the same week this movie came out, they're taking Looney Tunes off of HBO Max.
Are they really?
They're taking it off. They announced that the same week this movie came out. Wouldn't you think that this movie would get a little traction for Looney Tunes? And Warner Brothers, Looney Tunes built the house you live in. Why are you disrespecting them?
Wow, that's something I wasn't ever going to expect Max to do. Like,
Right.
no, I absolutely agree. That's messed up.
That's like Disney taking off the original Snow White or like Aladdin. Like, what are we doing? So, but whatever. The Day the Earth Blew Up, very, very fun. Another one we talked about on here a little bit before it came out. This new Steven Soderbergh movie, Black Bag. If you want an awesome spy thriller that you could drop into any decade in history, Black Bag's your movie. It is nonstop action. It's fun. It's engaging. It's a little predictable, but not to a fault. Like, I enjoyed every minute of that movie despite knowing who the villain was the entire time.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I said I was very excited for Opus, hoping it would be, blink twice and it didn't suck. It was that and so much more. That movie fucking rips, dude. It's the most recent movie I've seen in theaters. Yeah, it kicks ass. It's one of the most profound endings to a film I've ever seen. Like I walked out of the theater like, what, like what do I do now? But, and I believe the episode is coming out tomorrow. The, in my opinion, best movie of the year came out on the 14th.
What movie would that be?
Jack Quaid does not miss. Novocaine, dude. So we're reviewing Novocaine on the Forest Film Club. Like I said, I believe that episode's coming out tomorrow, so go check that out. Everyone knows on this podcast how much I love Companion. I think Companion is incredible. It's a masterpiece. Novocaine beat it, dude. It beat it. I've already seen it 3 times in theaters. Like, I want to own the physical media right now. I want the posters. I want to kiss Jack Quaid on the mouth. Like, Novocaine is fucking awesome. It's funny. It's quick. Like, it's not a long movie, which is perfect. It's unexpectedly violent. Like, I wasn't ready for how violent and graphic this movie was going to be, dude. It's awesome. I loved it so much. I think, well, I walked out of the theater and texted you, and I was like, yep, Novocaine beat Companion. Like, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, you did. And it's one that I gotta watch. I just been busier than all heck with work lately. Haven't had a chance to see a lot of modern movies, but Novocaine is definitely on my hit list for stuff that I want to watch this year. Yep.
Yeah, and dude, have a day Amber Midthunder. So Amber Midthunder plays Sherry in Novocaine, and she's also in Opus, and those 2 movies came out on the same day. And Amber Midthunder, you would know her. She was the main character in Prey, the Native American girl fighting the Predator. That's her.
Okay.
So, yeah. So that movie was absolutely awesome. And then I haven't seen any of the movies that came out this weekend because I've been just doing so many podcasts. But I'm going to see the new Snow White. I'm going to see Ash and Alto Knights, the new Robert De Niro movie where he plays both guys.
That's one that's on my hit list too. I enjoy Robert De Niro a lot, and him doing 2 mob bosses in the same movie. Oh man, that's set up to be something good.
Yeah, and it's by the people I think that made like Goodfellas and like all the big hitters he was in. So I'm interested. Like, I feel like Robert De Niro has released a lot of stuff lately that's just stuff. Like he's in that 0 Day show, like he's been in some like crappy comedies. Like he seems like a dude that did not budget his money well and is taking any role he can now. But hopefully this is a transition back to the Robert De Niro days, like The Irishman, Casino, things like that.
I'm hoping he's not running into something that maybe a Bruce Willis was running into. He's just taking like these cheaply made Chinese movies. That's what they're for. It's for the Chinese market. Even though they're shot, they're done in English. They were, when Redbox was still a thing, they were put in Redbox for dirt cheap. Now they're on like Tubi and things like that. I'm hoping that Robert De Niro was not falling into something similar to that. Now, I feel bad for the people that are working for peanuts in those Bruce Willis movies. But he is getting up there, and he's basically setting his family up for life with the amount of money he's making off of those. Like, 5 years ago, he made like 20 movies in a year or 2 years or something like that. And all he had to do was sit there and just read lines or have them fed in on your piece or something like that.
Well, and I think Bruce Willis is done acting with his like sickness. I don't think he'll ever be back into it. So he had to crush in as many as he could before the end. So I get it.
Absolutely, and I respect the hustle. I do. I'm just
Sure.
Robert De Niro does not seem to like that. He's at that stage of his life where anything's bogging him down just yet. So I'm like you said, I'm hoping it's a return to form for him, and we get a couple more good hits before he hangs up the towel.
Yeah, dude. Hey, get back with Ben Stiller and give me another Fockers movie, dude.
Yeah.
Like give me some of that, man. Like Robert De Niro's great in comedies. He's just been in some crappy ones lately. So
Yes.
Yeah, so I still need to see all those, and then next weekend, so the weekend this podcast is coming out, the 28th, we get a Working Man. we get The Woman in the Yard, which I'm going to see before you and I see A Working Man, and I'm also going to see Death of a Unicorn that same day. So we got some bangers coming out next Friday, as well as a movie I'm very excited for that I talked about on the Mickey 17 podcast. Tim Key is in a movie called Ballast of Wallace Ballast. Good lord, Tim Key is in a movie called Ballad of Wallace Island. I don't really know what it's about. That seems to be, maybe that should be the name of this podcast. I don't know what this is about. But he's like a super fan of these musicians that used to be husband and wife, and he wins the lottery and brings the husband to his island to perform for him. And then he also brings the ex-wife and her current husband to the island to try to get them back together. It looks funny, it looks smart, it looks cute. I'm pretty excited for that, and I'm hoping it gets a wide release so I can go see it. But if not, I guess I'll be driving to Pittsburgh, which I have no problem doing. I'll drive to Pittsburgh. All right, and then April. April looks pretty good. It looks a little lighter than March did. But the very first Wednesday, I'm driving to Lancaster to see Scream Boat, which is the newest Disney horror film, starring our guy, Art the Clown actor, as a miniature mouse who's on a boat killing people. So,
hey, we can't say Disney horror movie. Steamboat Willie horror movie.
yes,
Thank you, copyrights, for running out.
Yeah, thank you. And then that Friday we get the Minecraft movie, which there's a new segment coming to the Real Friends movie podcast with my dear friend and in the play I'm in, love interest Emily, and it's going to be called Scared Shits, and her and I are going to be reviewing scary movies and shitty movies, and usually shitty scary movies. But the first one we're doing the Minecraft movie.
Notable release that I'm excited for that I hope does justice to the game, Until Dawn.
Yes.
Until Dawn was a fantastic horror game released from PlayStation Studios, and
that comes out on the 25th.
Yes, yep. The developers were Supermassive Games. They are known very much for making narrative. They're the horror equivalent of a modern day Telltale.
Yeah,
their games are very much.
It felt like Telltale when I played it, for sure.
Yes. It's Until Dawn was a fantastic PS4 game that got re-released for PC, I believe, as well as the PlayStation 5, upscaled, all that good stuff that we're going to freshen it up, put a coat of paint because stuff can handle it now.
Yeah.
Oh my God, was Until Dawn like one of my favorite horror games of that year when it was released.
It's pretty scary, too.
Yes.
From what I understand and from the trailer, it doesn't look anything like the game.
And I'm okay with that. I'm hoping that they can throw some nods into the game itself, or from the game itself into the movie, and maybe expand the lore some, because the whole thing was just about, the butterfly effect, basically, because that's how you branch off onto different paths of, you screwed up, this person died, this is what's going to happen now. And that is always something that blows my mind when games have like 100 different branching paths to be able to get you to an ending.
We know from, you and I talking, like, the butterfly effect is something I'm obsessed with. Like, I think that's so interesting. And what I'm hoping is, so, like, Peter Stormare, however you say it, is reprising his role as Dr. Hill. So maybe, like, this is just a different experiment he's trying or something like that. Like, I'm hoping that's the road they take and they're not trying to say it's, like, a faithful adaptation, because it's clearly not.
I would be absolutely okay with that, because how do you put, like, what was a 10-hour movie in the game form and crunch that down into a feature-length film?
Yeah,
exactly. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting.
I'm excited for that. A couple movies. April 11th, I think, is going to be like the best day of the month. So we're getting We're getting an Angel Studios movie, and usually I don't care for Angel Studios, but this movie looks awesome. It's called King of Kings. It's an animated movie about Jesus, but you gotta listen. You gotta listen to this cast, dude. Jesus is played by Oscar Isaac. Pierce Brosnan plays Pontius Pilate. Uma Thurman is Catherine Dickens. Kenneth Branagh is Charles Dickens. Mark Hamill is King Herod. Ben Kingsley as High Priest Caliph, or I forget how you say his name, but
Where's my father-in-law?
I think it's Caiaphas. It's Caiaphas. I gotta think of Jesus Christ Superstar. Yeah. High Priest Caiaphas, they're right outside your door. Like, yeah, it's Caiaphas. And then Forrest Whitaker plays the Apostle Peter. So, like, this cast is insane, and the animation looks beautiful. Like, I've said this before, I'm not a religious dude, but I think the story of Jesus is so interesting. Like, it's one of the best stories ever told, so hopefully it finally gets, like, its comeuppance in this movie, because most movies, when they try to do this, are just very preachy and not good. A movie I forgot that came out in March to talk about is The Last Supper. That came out gearing up for Easter, so I'm going to check it out. We'll see. They included the song in the trailer, God's Gonna Cut You Down by Johnny Cash, so, like, that's badass. So, I don't know. Maybe it's good. I'll check it out. But on that same day, we get 3 other movies. Like, dude, I'm just going to be living in the theater this weekend. So, The Amateur, the new Rami Malek movie where he's the CIA investigator, and his wife is killed, and so he uses all of his knowledge to hunt down the people that killed her. It looks crazy, dude. Like, and he was in the Until Dawn game.
I was gonna say, speaking of Until Dawn,
yeah,
there he is.
Yeah, he's in that. So I'm super excited for that. Another one I've been very excited for, and then South by Southwest showed the movie, and it got like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's called Drop, and it is a thriller. Where this woman goes on a date with a guy, like she met through Tinder or something, and halfway through the date, she gets an airdrop on her phone, and it's that dude in the yellow suit, like, rubbing his hands together behind the tree. You seen that meme? And it says, me gearing up to make this the worst night of your life. And then it says, check your security cameras, and she does, and there's a guy in her house with a gun, and her, like, 5-year-old son is at home with a babysitter. So the trailer, then goes on to say, you have to kill your date. And if you don't, I'm going to kill your son. So it looks mental, dude. It looks like Phone Booth, like with Colin Farrell. But like in a skyscraper, like at a restaurant. It looks badass. So I'm super excited for that. And then finally on the 11th, we get another A24 movie that looks a lot like Civil War, and that's called Warfare. It looks brutal. It looks intense. I am very excited for it. And the same guy that made Civil War, Alex Garland, is making it. So,
I do want to. There was one more that we talked about previously. I'm going to butcher the name, but The Legend of Ochi.
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 Yep. Finally coming out. Yep.
April 25th, if this is correct here.
The same day as Until Dawn. Yep.
And then this one's coming out in June, but I do want to make mention, because I'm bringing it up now, that I want to see it with you. Ballerina.
Okay.
That's going to be coming. That one's coming out in June. It's in the John Wick universe.
Yeah.
Has Keanu Reeves in it yet again, obviously.
I think he was a late addition. I'm a little worried about that, because, like, that tells me the movie wasn't very good, and they're throwing him in to try to save it. So we'll see. But, I mean, it's John Wick. It's going to be fun. I can't remember the girl's name. Anya something.
De Armas?
Yeah, Anya de Armas, yeah. I'll watch anything she's in, dude. Like, she's badass.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I could go for another movie in the John Wick universe, just the choreography is going to be really good, and that's what I'm there for. I'm not there for the plot, even though the John Wick movies do have some decent stories for just being, action movies with very good gun choreography.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for another movie like that. I love
Yeah.
John Wick 4. I mean,
Yeah.
holy shit, that was a really good movie. Surprisingly, I'm like, how do you make four bangers in a row? Like, come on.
When I was pledging my fraternity in college, they took us to the movies, and the option was we could go see the movie Split, which I didn't realize was awesome. I would have watched that, or John Wick 2. I went to see John Wick 2, but I had never seen John Wick 1, so I had no idea what was going on, dude. But I was like, oh, this is a cool action movie, and now I'm obsessed. I haven't watched. Is it called The Continental, the TV show?
I haven't watched that either. No.
Okay, but I want to check it out. I think it's called the Continental, which is the hotel for the assassins, right?
Yep, and John Wick's gonna reprise his role in Ballerina as Neo from The Matrix, so it'll all be good.
I thought
Like
he was Ted from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
I
I was
thought he was the
hoping
guy
for
from
that.
Fortnite.
Oh yeah, that or Speed. Maybe he's on a bus.
You know what? I would fucking love if Keanu Reeves just phones it in for the episode for the movie, and it's just him on a bus like, yo, I can't make it. You're gonna have to take care of this. I can't let this bus drop below a certain speed limit.
Just three more movies in April, and then we'll get to it that I'm excited for. I had no clue this movie was even coming out, and this movie is taking the internet by storm. It's called The Ugly Stepsister, and it's like a horror retelling of Cinderella. And it has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. So I'm really interested in seeing that movie. So that comes out on the 18th. That's really the only movie coming out on the 18th. Oh no, Hell of a Summer too. Yeah, Hell of a Summer's coming out, which is like a new slasher movie. The trailer looks really funny because the kids, like all of the camp counselors are kids, and then there's one that's like 25 that keeps coming back. And they want to do this like murder mystery. So like when the older kid finds a dead body and runs in and tells them about it, they're all like, "Oh, you stole my murder mystery idea." It looks crazy. It looks like I've heard like from initial screenings that it's one of the cooler slasher movies that's come out in a while. So I definitely want to check that one out. And then also on the 25th we get The Accountant 2, so the newest Accountant movie with Ben Affleck. And we get Cheech and Chong's last movie. Right after 420, we get our last Cheech and Chong movie. So
That's cute. I know they probably wanted to go for the 420 joke, but I think 425 for like one last hurrah kind of fits it there too.
yeah.
Um, I am noticing there are two more things. There's Havoc starring Tom Hardy is coming out in on Netflix.
I think that's a TV
It
show, right?
is it a TV show?
I think it
It said
is.
just reading because I'm checking out some stuff that looked interesting here on Wikipedia here quick. It does say an upcoming action thriller film as the synopsis, but I could be wrong. This could end up just being a show.
Oh, maybe it is a movie. I swore it was a TV show because I was like, I guess I'm not watching it because I don't really watch TV. But
Yeah, I feel you on that.
yeah, no, it looks like it's a Netflix action movie. Cool. I'll add it to the list.
Um, oh, never mind. I was gonna say Strangers 2 also popped up, but that does not have a release date yet. They're just throwing that one here in the list just because, hey, we don't know when the hell it's coming out.
Yeah, and after how bad the last one was, they're a little
Yeah,
concerned. It wasn't great.
I don't blame them.
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't great. What I need to see is I need to see more movies coming out in May because it seems like there's a bunch of big names, but not a ton of movies that have been announced for May. So we'll see. But we're not here to talk about movies coming out in April, despite that's what we've been doing for the past half an hour because it's awesome and it's a lot of fun. We are here to conclude this epic of Back to the Future, and we're going to talk about Back to the Future Part 3. So, third one of the trilogy, it came out in 1990, so just 1 year, I believe, after Back to the Future 2. and it picks up right at the end of the second movie. So, it's interesting, right? In the last episode, we talked about why they re-showed us the end of the first movie, because they recast Jennifer Parker. For this movie, Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale were just like, all right, we'll just keep it consistent. We'll show the end of the second movie. I love that it's like a previously on Back to the Future, without saying previously on Back to the Future.
Yeah.
So we see the end of the second movie again, and then it throws us into the third movie. So once again, my dear friend, take the lead and have at it.
All right, folks, get ready for a lot of getting back on track with this one. So here we go. As Alex said, we pick up basically from the end of Back to the Future 2, just to give fans a little bit of a rub as to what's going on, why this movie is going the direction that it's going. So where it left off, Doc Brown is shocked to see Marty, this being at the end of Back to the Future 2, because at that moment in time, he just sent Marty back to the future, sending him back to 1985. And Marty takes him, Doc Brown faints because, great Scott. Marty takes Doc back to the mansion to recover.
They switch roles from there's a lot in this movie where they switch roles. Like at one point Marty says great Scott and Doc says that's heavy. And this moment is the moment we've had in the other two movies where Marty wakes up from fainting and thinks it's a dream. That happens to Doc right here, right? Except it's not he's not yelling for his mommy and Marty pretends to be his mom, but it's one of those deals too. I didn't notice it as much in the second movie, but we talked about in the first movie how great the music editing was. This movie does it too. Doc is scared for Marty and backs into the piano, and you hear the real suspenseful, intense music just from him leaning on the piano. Then as soon as he gets off it, it cuts.
Yes.
Yeah, the music editing in this was very good as well.
Yeah, Marty wakes him up then. Doc comes to consciousness, I should say. Basically, as he dictates the previous night's events on his reel-to-reel tape recorder, which, there you go, we are still in 1955, folks. It's great.
85.
He is.
No, it is 55. I'm wrong.
Yep,
yeah,
because this is
past.
the 55 Doc yet. Yep.
Yeah.
He assumes that what he saw was just a residual image, but resumes his state of shock when he realizes Marty's still right behind him. It's a great setup for what's about to occur here in the movie. Just setting the scene. It's cool. After he calms down, 1955 Doc. I'll just keep calling him Doc right now. We know where we're at the moment.
Yeah.
He used a magnifying glass to read aloud from a letter. From his future counterpart.
But he's not using it like a magnifying glass. He's holding it up to his mouth.
Yep. Hey, he's nearsighted. He's just
it's like Finding Nemo with the kid against the fish tank. That's
hello,
what it looks like.
Fishies.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I love it.
If you don't know the scene, folks, but you know Finding Nemo, it's the kid that has the braces, and she's just tapping the heck out of that fish tank. Everybody's like, oh.
In the dentist office, yeah.
Yep. Doc's reading a letter from his future self that it's basically saying that the DeLorean was struck by lightning, and he'd accidentally. Yeah, sorry, I have notes mixed up here. He's reading from his future self, explaining that he had accidentally been sent back to 1885 when the DeLorean was struck by lightning. The lightning bolt had damaged the time circuits. Basically, the flux capacitor and whatnot is shot at this point. And Doc was unable to repair it since the suitable parts wouldn't be available until 1947. Mm-hmm. So it's leading back to the first one. Now he's explaining how he made the time machine. And we're setting up the film with that. And the DeLorean won't be able to fly again because it destroyed the flying circuits in the time machine. In a letter, In the letter, it has a map showing where the DeLorean is, as well as a letter mentioning or instructions and schematic designs to show the younger Doc how to repair the time machine using 1955 components, so Marty can return to 1985. And once Marty arrives back, he must destroy the time machine.
Yeah, he's very
That,
clear. He's very clear on don't come back to get me. He's like,
yep.
I don't want you to come back. I'm tired of us, running through time. And, Marty kind of accepts it. He's like, okay, I guess we'll do that.
Yep.
But it sets it up for a pretty awesome moment here coming up.
I'll let you cut me off whenever we get to that moment as well. 1985 Doc explains in the letter that he doesn't want Marty to come back, as we just said, to pick him up. He's perfectly happy there, except his new life as a blacksmith in the Old West, as well as fearing unnecessary time travel, is going to cause further damage to the space-time continuum.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's my terrible Christopher Lloyd, folks. After the DeLoreans recovered from an old abandoned gold mine, uh, the excavation of which is documented using 1955 Doc's camera, they see a tombstone bearing Doc's name and stating that he died September 7th, 1885, only
Which
6 days after writing the letter.
Yeah, 6 days after writing the letter, which that's such a good catalyst for this movie, man. Like, it's like, look, Doc's gonna die. I understand he doesn't want you to come back, but I feel like Doc also wants to live. This also creates, and we'll talk about it a little later, one of the biggest plot holes in films I've ever seen. Because it says about, like, buried by his beloved Clara, right? But how is that possible with something we learn a little later about the ravine? How is it possible that she was there to bury him? And they never fix that. Like, it's not one of those plot holes they fix. So, I don't know. It's I don't hate it at all. Like, I think this movie rips. Like, I think this movie's better than the second one, and the second one's very good. But what's with the big plot hole, dude?
Well, I'll play devil's advocate and just assume here. What if that tombstone is at that point just stating maybe it wasn't from him being, as I was about to bring up here, he was shot in the back by Biff's great grandfather, Buford Mad Dog Tannen, over a matter of $80.
And he's called Mad Dog because of his tendency to drool. That's awesome.
It's good.
Yeah.
Where I was going with what if the timeline was fixed at that point, but not completely? I get that it's showing 6 days after buried by his beloved Clara. She was much younger than him. Let's face it, Doc was not going to live as long as Clara unless, Old West diseases take hold of her. Maybe it was already set in motion at that point, the moment they got the time machine. And I'm going to say, yes, it is a plot hole, but I like to play the film theory idea there that, hey, Marty even getting to the time machine was already starting to change that tombstone's outcome.
Maybe, but like, we see pretty clearly that if Marty didn't go back and they weren't plotting out how they were going to get there, they wouldn't have been there to save her. Right?
Correct.
And
Correct.
At that point, the ravine was still called what it was. So, I don't know. Yeah, it feels like they just kind of threw a lot of stuff in here. I don't know. This one probably, in my opinion, this movie is one of the more fun of the three, but it's got the worst script, I feel like.
Filming back to back with two that they wanted to keep tight niche at that point because of all the back and forth that they had to do in that film for the timeline. I could see why they would let three be just a little more free with what they're doing there. I a lot more lax.
Yeah, it's definitely more lax. There's no doubt about that.
So Marty decides he's gonna go save Doc then after finding out that he dies 6 days later. This is when 1955 Doc restores the DeLorean to working order with some replacement parts that were available in that time frame. It's now equipped with white wall tires to replace the original tires and a box of 1955 components, including some vacuum tubes strapped to the hood to replace the damaged time circuit, control microchip. And Doc and Marty take the repaired DeLorean to the Indian modified Pahanchi Drive-In Theater. Is it Pahanchi?
I
Am I
have no
butchering that?
idea.
Okay.
I didn't see a name. I don't know.
Marty's wearing a novelty cowboy costume and takes. I love I love the look of the DeLorean in this movie when he's going
Yeah.
back, and I love the costume that Marty's
Well,
in just to be able to fit in.
and the costume's hilarious because, like, you know, Doc is a student of science and a student of history, right? And the Wild West is his favorite time period, and he says that this is a time accurate piece. Like, no, it's not. This is something you would wear at one of those like black and white photographer things. Like, no one wears that. And they even other Doc tells him when he goes back in time, like, hey, you better change. You're gonna get your ass kicked wearing that around here. Like,
Yep. Young Doc was naive at that point. He hadn't actually seen the Cowboys at that point in time.
all right, I guess.
Hey, Doc. Original Doc, we'll call him Doc A. He got to see the Cowboys, and he's like, what was I
Yeah.
thinking?
Yeah. Well,
This is heavy.
This movie, like with the script, what it does too is it takes a lot of lines from the other movies and changes them. Like right now, like Marty's in the car and he's like, "It's gonna be a really far walk back to Hill Valley from here," and he goes, "Where you're going, there are no roads." Yeah.
It's good. It's so good.
Yeah, it is. It works, right? It works.
Yes.
And it's subtle. They're subtle too. You have to be really paying attention to hear them. So
So Marty takes off from the drive-in theater and heads toward the screen.
Oh, wait. There's a really good line we didn't bring up. Because Marty's like, if I drive right there, like if I drive straight there, the Indians are going to be there. And he's like, Marty, this drive-in didn't exist in 1855. Or, no, 1885. He's like, the Indians won't be there when you get there. And then he takes off, and there's no reason why Doc needs to shoot off a starting gun. But he does because it's awesome. And so Marty takes off, and immediately as soon as he hits like 88 miles an hour and goes back in time, of course the Indians are there. Why wouldn't they be? Like,
Yep, he jumps into the past and he's being chased off by Indians basically as he's in a big cavalry chase from the Indians. As he drives the DeLorean into a cave then. So this is the MacGuffin for the movie, I guess, one of them. The DeLorean's fuel line ends up being ripped because well, there's no roads where he's at. So bad terrain for as good as the DeLorean is as a car, it is a very low riding car. This sucker is not all-wheel drive.
yeah. And of course, you know that's going to come back to bite them. Like, it's like, oh, crap. Marty doesn't think anything of it. He's like, oh, it's fine. You know, we can just make fuel with our Mr. Fusion. We're fine.
It said something about oil refineries still being a thing at that point, and I'm not saying Doc wouldn't know how to make fuel out of the crude oil and whatnot. I would have thought more it was an issue of not having all the stuff that a DeLorean at that point, because it was still a car at that point. It's being run on 1955 parts. It would not be able to accept what crude gasoline they would be able to make at that point. Because we were refining oil at that point in time. Oil was gold. There's gold in them hills. It didn't always mean gold. It meant black liquid gold. So it's hard to say. Plot hole maybe. At the same time, it's one of them things that you don't want to think too much about. But that was a bit of trivia that people brought up.
I don't think it's a plot hole. I mean, you know, they show that in this, like, not necessarily in 1885, but in this world, things are powered on steam.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's not a plot hole. It's just not historically accurate, which we're watching Back to the Future. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Marty ends up running away after seeing a black bear residing in the cave. He falls down a hill, hits his head in the fence, and passes out. And it is wild to think about that Marty has so many concussions at this point because, Michael J. Fox was really tired at the filming of Back to the Future 1 because he was doing Family Ties as well at that point and back and forth. Marty McFly as a character, though, how many concussions do you think he ended up having at this point? Like,
I don't know.
it's like a week in time, maybe, and that's not including the first movie.
Yeah.
Just how short that was, but overall, his adventure is basically, I don't know, like a week at this point.
Yeah, yeah, at the most. And I talk about this on the review of Novocaine over on the Forest Film Club podcast. But you know, Nathan Kane, the main guy in that movie, is very Marty McFly because he can't feel pain, but he continually gets knocked out. Like all the time, he's getting hit in the head and knocked out. But yeah, when Marty falls into that fence, dude, we meet good old Seamus McFly, which is just Michael J. Fox with an Irish accent, and I love it. And then Leah Thompson's there as Maggie McFly, and we get another, like, 3 for 3. Marty is asleep, thinking he's having a dream, calls out for his mom, and there she is. And then she's like, "You're safe and sound on the McFly farm." McFly farm? Like,
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
yeah, I love it.
Oh, and we cannot forget Marty's name in this movie.
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood.
Yep. Clint Eastwood. It's so funny, dude. One thing I wish they had done with this movie is that I wish when we went back to the future that Clint Eastwood was like not a famous guy in movies, because in the West he was considered a yellow belly. I wish that he was not like a thing, which we don't know if he is a thing, I guess, right? But I wish it had been like there'd be a sign and it'd just be some other actor, like Michael Keaton is Dirty Harry, like something like that. I thought would have been really funny.
Or Clint Eastwood changed his name to what's a pseudonym or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
It's no longer Clint Eastwood. It's
yeah.
Clint Westwood.
Yeah, I was gonna
Just
say
something subtle.
it's Brian Westshore or something like that. Like, yeah,
Steve McGuffin is Dirty Harry.
there you go.
This would have been the Bruce Almighty thing where Jim Carrey's actually Dirty Harry, and then Clint
Oh,
Eastwood's Jim Carrey.
oh my God, Clint Eastwood is the dude from The Mask and Ace Ventura. Jesus Christ. Maybe his face wouldn't have gotten frozen like that all the time then, because that's the Clint Eastwood face.
Oh, Marty goes into Old West Hill Valley. That just is what it is. It's Hill Valley in the setting of Red Dead Redemption, and goes into a local saloon to try to find out where Doc lives. And this is where Buford Mad Dog Tannen shows up.
Hey,
We'll just be calling him.
McFly.
We'll just be calling him Mad Dog from here on out. And
Yeah.
he ends up picking a fight with Marty.
Well,
Uh,
and it's interesting because, in this movie, he comes in and he's yelling, "Hey, McFly," actually at Marty. That hasn't happened before, right? And the reason for that is Seamus gave him a hat to wear, and so he looks just like him without facial hair.
yep.
So, yeah, that was,
Minus the red beard.
right. Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah. Captain Redbeard.
But yes, he ends up picking a fight with him due to his clothing, the hat specifically. But that get up, man, he's asking to get his ass kicked at this point.
Well, and did you recognize the very wheezy voice of the one guy playing poker?
I can't say I did.
So he's the sheriff of Nottingham in the old Robin Hood movie.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Because as soon as I heard it, I was like, I know that voice. Like, who is this guy? And yeah, I looked it up, and yeah, he's the sheriff of Nottingham. It's, oh, well, if you're gonna do that, then like, yeah, I love it.
Nice.
Apparently he was a staple in westerns. I had no idea. So it's funny that he's in this.
I didn't know that myself. That's cool. I'll have to keep an ear out for him for some other Western movies now.
Yeah.
Uh, this ends up with Mad Dog and his gang trying to hang Marty from the partially complete clock tower at this point.
Oh, don't miss it
And
though. Don't miss it. We've missed the callback to the other movies with the poop, because Marty flips a latrine onto Mad Dog to get away from him.
oh, that's true. Yup, and Biff and his ancestors hate manure,
Yeah, they hate
and
poop.
yup, I can't blame them. People shouldn't like poop.
Yeah, if you do like poop, there's something wrong with you.
It
You're that weird girl from that old Seth Green movie, Sex Drive, with the brown and down. Like, very weird.
that's a callback I wasn't expecting you to make.
Come on, Seth Green is an Amish guy. You can't not talk about that movie.
That's true. Um, they attempt to hang Marty from the clock tower, and at this point, Doc comes, it shows up carrying, I believe it's a Winchester. It'd be a good timepiece rifle for it,
Just
and
a
it's
hell of a rifle.
and it's got a full-size telescopic scope that he made basically out of a telescope, which is badass. Like Doc, I don't think Doc, yeah, he had the revolver and whatnot. He never seemed like he was confident to shoot, but he takes aim at this rope that Marty's hanging from. One shot cuts it clean.
Well,
Like Doc,
he's a blacksmith now. Like, he's had to do this, you know. And who knows how long it took him to get established. He had to hunt and stuff to get food, probably. Like,
I wish they would go back to like when did Doc actually end up in the West at this point? Because I want to see that movie.
oh yeah,
I want
dude.
I want to see the lead up of Doc making a name
Just
for himself and leading up to the events.
badass Christopher Lloyd, just yeah, doing all that. And you know, real quick, we kind of skipped over it, but one problem I have with this movie is how they catch Marty, because in the first two movies, Biff chasing Marty is this insane, you know, chase sequence that's really cool. Marty outsmarts him, all these things, and then this one, Marty just, he's being chased by a horse and he just runs down the middle of the street. Like, did Marty, all these concussions give him brain damage and he doesn't know how to escape Biff anymore? Like, what? Why? I feel like it was I feel like it was just used as a plot device for us to get Doc. For Doc to have the big save. Because it seems very much like this movie wanted to completely change roles and have Doc do all the things Marty did in the other ones, and have Marty,
Yes.
you know, be less of a character and more of a whatever they're called, Betty Sue or whatever, like Mary
Th-
Sue.
th-
Mary Sue.
this is Doc's movie where he still has to get Marty, his boy, back to his time period. But this is very much Doc's movie. The man loved westerns. He loved the Wild West.
Right.
Like, let's have Christopher Lloyd. Hell, I don't know. Christopher Lloyd might have always wanted to be in a western at this point. I don't know what his filmography was up to this point, but maybe
Sure.
he just wanted to be in a western.
Yeah, I don't know. We know Doc wanted to, at least, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I really wish I could see Doc as a gunslinger. This man must have a lot of unknown confirmed kills
Well,
back in the Wild West at this point.
At least we see Christopher Lloyd as a gunslinger and Nobody, which we talked about. So
That's true.
we at least get that, you know.
Yup, he shoots the rope, saves Marty, and then Mad Dog demands the $80 from Doc to replace a horse that he shot a few days previously. Again, the Tannen clan at this point, always something wrong with their form of transportation, no matter what. And it's always somebody else's fault.
Yep. Well, and it's funny with this too, because he's like, you know, you owe me $80. You shoot this horse, and he's like, well, you didn't pay me for it, so it looks like that's, you know, it looks like we're even.
Yep, and then he also owes him a bottle of Kentucky Red Eye.
Yeah, that's why he owes him $80, because of Kentucky Red Eye, because he's got to hit the red eye, the X's like Red Dead Redemption, and shoot everybody.
Oh, good old Kentucky Red Eye. What product placement?
Yeah, right. This one didn't have as much product placement because
No.
it's the Old West, but yeah, it's still there.
I would have loved to see Ye Old Ford or Ye Old Pepsi. I know that's medieval talk, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Mad Dog promises that he's going to kill Doc on Monday because Doc refuses. Mm-hmm. And setting up the time loop, and this is basically all the plot set up to get us to now.
Yeah.
So Doc takes Marty back to his workshop where Marty shows Doc a photo of his tombstone. Doc
It
doesn't
is
know who
it,
Clara is at this point.
it is interesting to me that we're going back to what we did in the first movie with the pictures again instead of
Hmm.
newspapers. We're not using newspapers, which I liked the newspapers a little better. I thought they were more entertaining. But yeah, we're switching back and we're going with the pictures again. So,
Yeah, it makes
which is still
was
cool. It's still cool.
yeah,
Don't get me
absolutely.
wrong. It's just weird they were filming these at the same time and they said one we're using newspapers, this one we're using because newspapers in the old west were a cool thing. You could have had one of my favorite things in the world, one of the little newsy kids, like
Yep.
extra extra, like we could have had that, like that would have been funny. It could have been like a little McFly or whatever doing it.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Yeah, yeah, I
That
think that
would have
would have
been
been
neat.
cool.
Yeah. The two of them are set to return home at this point, but Marty mentions that the car is out of gas, and Doc is concerned about this because even though Marty's unconcerned, because like we can just use Mr. Fusion to draw energy from anything we put in it. And Doc tells Marty that Mr. Fusion only powers the time circuits and the flux capacitor. The actual car is always run on unleaded gasoline. And there ain't gonna be a gas station around till sometime the next century.
So they think they can get up to 88 miles an hour being drawn by horses.
Horsepower, man, you know?
No, I don't care how many horses you have. Like 88, come on, man. And you're not thinking it through because as soon as you launch, those horses might die. Like it was literally just to show the iconic shot of the DeLorean being drugged by horses. The only reason they did it.
Yep.
But there is a part that we kind of skipped over that I want to talk about because this has happened now in every movie that you and I have talked about an issue with a film and Robert Zemeckis has fixed it in the next one. Because in this one, Marty and Doc are talking, and Marty's like, "Oh man, I can't believe we just left Jennifer on her porch. Like we got to get back to her." And I was telling you in the last episode, like, why would you just leave her on a random porch? You don't even know if it's her house, man. Like, so yeah, Zemeckis was like, "Oh, I hear you. 20 years previously, I'll fix it." Like,
Oh. About the horses, I believe that it was only able to barely break 20 miles per hour when
it
they were
was
trying
like
to pull
20,
with horses.
23. They hit 23, and they're like, "We'll never get to 88 miles an hour."
Need more horses.
Yeah.
Um, so Doc's second idea then is to fill the now repaired gas tank with the strongest whiskey from the saloon, which at that point in time might have had a chance.
Wasn't a terrible idea, honestly. Was not a
No.
terrible idea.
The engine turns over and starts, but then there's an explosion in the back of the car. The whiskey was too strong and blew the engine's fuel injector out. Doc said it's going to take a month to repair, and Marty points out that he ain't got a month. You're going to be shot on Monday.
Yep, and then this is a really cool part for me, just because they're standing there and they're discussing, hey, we could push it across ice or we could push it down a cliff, and the whole time they're talking about it, there's a calendar right beside them that says September 4th, 1885, which is exactly 110 years prior to my birth. They were talking on my birthday, but 110 years prior, so that was pretty cool.
So they can't get it to speed. After consulting with an engineer, they find that they're going to need to find a straight and level length track, ensure no weight is pulled behind the locomotive, as well as stoking the fire to an incredible heat. This is going to be able to get them up to 88 miles per hour, is the theory.
When they're standing there having that conversation, Doc's like, how could we get up to that speed? And then he sees a train coming in the background, and instantly is like, oh, that could work.
Yep. They locate the perfect place for it. It's a branch line that runs across a bridge over Clayton Ravine.
No, Shanosh Ravine. Yep.
Yes, that's true.
Yep.
Because he's curious when he sees the map is labeled as such.
Yeah, because Doc goes, oh, it must be the old Indian name for it.
Go to the ravine. They find out.
That's a callback to Eisenhower Boulevard, or not Eisenhower. JF. Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
John F.
yeah, no,
Kennedy Drive. John F.
Yep.
Kennedy Drive. Yeah, Eisenhower
Who
Boulevard.
the hell is John F. Kennedy?
Yeah, it's an exact callback to that. Yeah.
They find out the bridge hasn't been completed yet. However, it'll be used in 1985 when they arrive, which is cool. I mean, it makes sense, but that is a cool little thing. It's like, oh, it'll be fine. We'll get up to speed and we'll go right in the bridge when we hit the future.
As long as it's not in Pennsylvania, you wouldn't trust PennDOT to get it done in 100 years.
No, I wouldn't trust PennDOT to get it done in 100 years. I would trust the company I work for to get it done quickly, though.
There you go.
Bridges take a while, people.
But right as they're there, getting ready to leave, they hear a woman screaming for help,
Yep.
right? And they look up, and it's this woman the wagon has taken off, which somehow she's still steering. She just can't get them to stop. And Doc rushes up and saves her right as her wagon crashes into the ravine. And he asks her name, and her name is Clara Clayton, which we realize the same time as Doc. Oh, Clayton Ravine, she was probably supposed to die.
Yep. I've changed the future, Marty. Oh
yeah, I've changed everything. But I love her in this movie because Doc Doc's infatuated, dude, and it's great.
Dude, he's head over heels for it. Is
Oh my god, instantly. And it's we missed it earlier, but like when they were getting ready to do all this stuff, right? Like Doc got a letter saying, "Hey, Clara would like to meet you," and he's like, well, if I never meet her, then, I can't fall in love. And Marty's like, yeah, but you can fall in love at first sight. That's how it was for me and Jennifer. And Doc's like, that's impossible. And then love at first sight for Doc as soon as he sees her. So.
Yep. She was a school teacher, fell to her death in 1885. And then
which Marty remembers. Marty remembers because it's really funny. The line is so good because he's like, yeah, everybody at Hill Valley knows that story because there's teachers we'd like to push in the ravine.
It's a good line.
Yeah.
At this point, despite liking Claire or being infatuated with her, as you said, Doc is shocked to see it. He saved somebody that was meant to die. And it makes him even more adamant to destroy the time machine.
Yeah.
This is when we get to the town festival that is doubling as the inauguration of the clock tower, which is being built.
Yep.
And Marty and Doc get a very famous photo, if you've seen the movie, in front of the clock tower before it's set in place. It's a cool photo. It's a cool little...
Well, it's so funny too because Marty's like, "Smile, Doc," and then in the picture, Marty's not smiling. He looks like a fraternity brother standing there with his arms crossed.
Marty didn't realize how long it was going to take, and he's just like,
"Well,
they cut instantly to it. It wasn't like
that's a great Dane Cook joke. He's like, everyone in the Civil War era, like they all look terrible. He goes, instead of saying cheese, they're like, everybody looks stoic and creepy."
Yeah,
but it's because they took so long to take the pictures, man. I mean, I've got some wet plate photography done by our friend Brandon, and like you can see, like we look stoic and creepy because they take forever.
I was gonna ask you about how long do you think it took for that to be taken?
Yeah, I mean, so for the whole process, it's probably only like a minute or so, but it's still a long time to sit there and hold it when you're used to instant,
Yep. Trying to hold that smile for a minute, never knowing when it's going to come. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
This is when stuff takes a turn for the worst when Mad Dog arrives to kill Doc 2 days earlier than he promised, basically. 2 days earlier than what was on the tombstone.
And I love that this isn't a plot hole. Because he says, like, last time I shot someone with one of these, it took them 2 days to die, so you'll be dead by supper time on Monday. So in the actual timeline, this is when he shot him, was in this moment.
So that is a cool thing, yeah.
Yeah, no, it works. It's very cool.
So Marty foils Mad Dog's attempt by flinging a plate at Buford's hand, causing the Derringer to go off in the air, wasting his only shot that he had,
Yeah,
and tells
shoots
Mad Dog,
Doc's hat off. It's very cool.
It's a good, yeah, that's
Yeah,
another good one, a good
yeah,
Western trope. Um, Mad Dog's mad at Marty, calls him yellow. Marty
yep. Instead of
starts to leave.
chicken, he calls him yellow.
And for some reason, we're back to the chicken thing.
Well,
Nobody calls a McFly yellow.
Well, it's not for some reason because we're about to find out why this keeps happening. Like,
It's true. Yeah, it is true.
It's in his genes, you know.
Yep.
And then we
Marty
get
ends up-
Marshall Strickland. Marshall Strickland comes and breaks it up. Which I didn't realize that dude is in his 90s now. We were talking about how he looks old. He is old. He's 92. The actor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, Marty's challenged to a duel that Monday morning then.
He goes, all right, high noon. And Buford's like, high noon, I do my killing before breakfast, 7. But if we remember from the conductor said the train won't be there till 8. So Marty's like, I do my killing after breakfast. Let's do 8 o'clock. Which, why would you say 9? Just give yourself more time, because these movies love their timelines and cutting it close.
Damn, you're right. Marty could have just avoided this whole thing if his self-control was there.
Right. Even a little bit.
8:30, I'll meet you here.
I do love that we get another Tannen messed up statement, because he's like, I'm gonna shoot you down like a duck. And his crony's like, it's like a dog, and he's like, I'll shoot you down like a dog. Like,
A little bit of drool.
yeah, very much. He spat on him. I saw him spat on him.
This is where Seamus ends up telling Marty he shouldn't let himself get provoked by others. He also tells Marty about his brother Martin, who was stabbed with a Bowie knife in a saloon in Nevada, Virginia City, because he let somebody provoke him into a fight.
Yep. He always let people provoke him into a fight, and he goes, he never thought about the future much. And then, Maggie McFly's like, well, I hope you think about the future, Mr. Eastwood. And Marty's like, I never stopped thinking about it.
At this point, it's the next day. Marty notices that the photo he took of Doc's gravestone, it's changed, and now it's blank.
Well, it's not completely blank. It's just no one's name. There's no name on it. So someone's clearly still dies.
Yep. Either one of them could be dead by Monday, basically, with it being nameless. Marty tells Doc he's going to leave with him in the DeLorean Monday, but if Mad Dog comes looking for trouble, he's going to get it. And Doc warns him also that he shouldn't get mad every time somebody calls him a name, because that's what gets him into his accident in the future with the Rolls-Royce incident.
He let it slip, because we as the audience know that, because they were talking about it in the future with Jennifer in Marty's new house. Marty has no idea.
Yes.
Which, that was cool. I hadn't realized that until they did this, but that was a very cool way of doing it.
Yep. This makes Marty curious. Doc doesn't tell him because it can make things worse. Doc, what is wrong with my future? Marty, we all do things that affect the course of our lives. You gotta do what you gotta do, and I gotta do what I gotta do.
Yeah, right. And Doc at this point is just like, I want to stay in the past. Like, I'm not going with you. I want to stay, because he's fallen in love with Clara over their love for Jules Verne.
He wants Clara.
Yeah, their love for Jules Verne. And then Marty recommends bringing Clara with them. He's like, why don't you just bring her to the future with us?
I would have liked to have seen that also, but I also would have liked Doc to have a little thing. The culture shock, Marty. I could put her into cardiac arrest.
He could do it all again. He's so blind by love at this point.
Yes.
Like he can't think straight. But this leads to a very emotional moment in this movie, because Doc then goes to tell Clara that he's leaving, right? and she wants to know the truth. So he gives it to her. He tells her the truth, and she's like, now I understand. I understand that you don't love me and all this stuff, and like hits him and pushes him out of the house. And Doc is an emotional wreck now. And this is the second time that Marty has woken up and Doc's not there, which he's not used to ever happening, right? And Doc is at the saloon telling everyone about their futures because, of course, no one's allowed to know their future, and you're just going to tell everyone all the future, Mr. Doc. Well done.
Marty can't know his future, but everybody else are going to die
Everyone
in set amount of time. Nobody's going to believe him. Hell with it.
In the future, we don't need horses. We'd go around in automobiles.
The automobile isn't that far away, though.
It's not. You think, like, it's only 70 years between, like, when Doc has plutonium and all this shit, and, like, yeah, it's the glow up between 1880 and 1980 is, that's a huge 100 years in history, for sure.
Yes. I'm just trying to think here. Red Dead 1 was what, 1911 or so?
1913, I think.
Okay, regardless, I'm not trying to make this about Red Dead again. It's just a Western and whatnot. I'm just thinking of a very pivotal scene where it's a cowboy-themed game. I don't know when the first automobile was made. I could Google it, but let's just shoot the shit here.
It's the Model T, and it's in the 1910s.
Okay, so in Red Dead 1, there's a scene where the Pinkertons are in a Model T at that point when they pick John up and give him the thing to go kill Dutch Mantel. Yeah. Not Dutch Mantel. Oh my god, that's...
Wrong
Dutch Mantel is a wrestling manager. He managed Jack Swagger in the WWE as well as many management things before. Oh my god.
We just need to get back to our day as a wrestling podcast at this point, because it's seeping out of your brain, my friend.
Dutch Vanderlyn. And yeah, whatnot. But that's what I was thinking. Like, Doc's not far off in this as to saying when the automobiles and stuff are being made, and people just don't see it at that point.
Yeah, but with it being the 1880s and you looking at that crowd, none of them are going to be alive in 30 years.
Yeah. It's, was it A Million Ways to Die in the West?
Yeah.
They're all eating stuff that's so spicy that their colons are just going to explode.
Well, and Christopher Lloyd makes a cameo in that as
Doc.
As Doc, yeah.
Yeah. What the hell is that? Oh, nothing.
Yeah, well, nothing. Yeah.
Anyhow, yep, we get to the point there. Like you just explained.
Let's get to Buford showing up. That's where we are.
Absolutely. Doc passes out from drinking, I believe. Yeah, drunken coma.
Doc takes one shot. All night he's had this shot of whiskey and has not taken it. And he finally takes one shot of whiskey and instantly passes out.
Doc wasn't a drinker, man.
With 5 minutes until Buford's supposed to be there. And it's very funny, the fourth wall break there, because Marty's like, why do we always cut these things so close?
Yes. So Marty's tending to Doc and gets him back up just in time to escape from Buford. Mad Dog, and Marty's alarmed to see the name Clint Eastwood appear on the gravestone as Mad Dog taunts him. As Mad Dog prepares to shoot Doc, Marty steps out into the street and Mad Dog apparently shoots him dead. However, Marty was able to defeat Mad Dog with the trick the real Clint Eastwood used at one point. And there was a metal plate underneath his poncho. A bulletproof vest. Genius!
Well, slow down a little bit. Slow down, because we missed like the big part of his character arc. Like, Marty, Buford's calling him Yellow again, right? Mm-hmm. And Seamus is there, and Seamus gives him a look like, hey man, don't do this. And Marty is just like, that guy's an asshole. He's like, he's like, why would I care what he has to say to me? I don't care what anyone has to say. Like, that, you know, that's important, because later on then, like, when Needles is trying to provoke him, like, it could ruin the rest of his life. But now he knows that he let that happen because of what Doc said, and like things are going to be different. So yeah, they go to escape, and Marty like flings into a shed and knocks a door off of a wood stove, right?
Yep.
And Doc gets captured. So yeah, Doc's out there captured. Marty walks out to fight, and Marty takes his gun and just unhooks it and drops it. And Buford shoots him, we think, dead in the street, like you were saying.
I'm really glad the Wild West everybody went for center mass.
Yeah. Well, not even just the Wild West. 1985, the Libyan terrorists went center mass too. So
That's true. No kill shots here. Just go for the chest.
Yep.
Don't bleed out. Marty, presumed dead. He shows the metal plate under his poncho at this point, punches Mad Dog into a wheelbarrow full of manure.
Yeah.
He hates manure. And the sheriff comes to arrest him and asks if he has anything to say. And, that's where he spits it out and says, "Manure. I hate manure."
Yep.
Marty looks at the photo of the tombstone, which is broken in half during the fight, which is a very cool thing because he sees that it's vanished completely from the photo at this point. So Doc and Marty are safe, and they set off to borrow the train, the locomotive.
Yep. Yeah, and this is, Clara was, during this time, Clara's on a train to San Francisco. I believe it's the same train, right, that they're going to take. I think it is. I don't see why it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
And she overhears people talking about how tore up this blacksmith was about this girl. She realizes it's her. She jumps out to head back to town to find him as they're leaving, right? And she goes to the barn and she sees a model time machine, and she's like, wow, maybe he wasn't lying. So she takes off after them, and it's a whole thing. We don't have to go through it too much because you should go see it. If you haven't seen it, go see this movie to see this scene. It's very cool. But basically, Clara catches up to the train, hops on as they're getting up to speed, and, she's yelling for Emmett, which we've never heard him call Emmett in anything. It's only Doc Brown, but she's yelling for Emmett. He doesn't hear her. Mm-hmm. So she starts pulling the train whistle. And so then they go, but those logs that Doc was using, they explode.
Presto logs.
Yeah, and the engine explodes, right? So then Doc and Clara are like hanging over the side, and conveniently, Deus Ex hoverboard. Yep. Marty has his hoverboard.
I do want to make note, since we jumped ahead a touch there, I love that Doc and Marty are disguised as robbers whenever they go to hold up the train, and the conductor looks at him and says, "Is this a hijack?" And Doc answers, "It's a science experiment."
Yeah, that's pretty great. Then they get the hoverboard, right? And right as they're getting to the ravine, it gets up to 88 miles an hour. The hoverboard veers off. Doc and Clara are like making out, and Marty zaps back to the future. And Doc and Clara are not with him.
I do love that Doc was infatuated by love to be able to balance on that hoverboard. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And the fact that he just conveniently caught it with his foot. Like, that was funny. But yeah, so, Marty's in the DeLorean and he pulls across the bridge, and it's Eastwood Ravine. Mm-hmm. Because as far as they know, Eastwood died on the train in the explosion.
So car rides onto the rails into 1985. We're back to the future, present, whatever, folks. And Marty gets several strange looks from people that are around. But he's happy to be back. I mean, he's still in the cowboy garb. I mean...
Well, and the DeLorean has train wheels. Like, that's badass, dude. That's so cool.
Suddenly, Marty hears a loud horn and sees a massive, freight train heading towards him. Yeah. And he barely gets out of the car before the time machine is finally destroyed. But he's sad because he realizes his Doc is still trapped in 1885 and Marty's never going to see him again.
I do love that idea that it accidentally got destroyed, because I'm not convinced Marty or Doc ever would have destroyed it. I think this is the way it had to happen.
Absolutely. And we know that Marty or Doc wouldn't have destroyed it because at the end, Doc's back to his shenanigans because Marty reunites with his girlfriend Jennifer, as well as Biff, who, nothing's really changed here. Biff is still
No.
just he's
But
disheveled Biff.
it shows you that 1985 is fixed, right?
Correct.
But he does call him Butthead. We finally get a Butthead because
Yep.
Mad Dog didn't say Butthead at all. But you know what, man? I'm so upset at this scene because we almost got through this entire fucking movie without a George McFly appearance. And then that son of a bitch walks out of the house. And I thought I was done. I thought George McFly was out of my life forever. But no, that son of a bitch reared his ugly head once again.
I know we can't put "son of a bitch" in a title on YouTube. How are we going to get around this one?
George McFly is an SOB. I'm just going to put SOB.
That SOB returns. George McFly lives.
Yeah, the SOB strikes back. Yeah.
You heard it here, folks. Double check it. See what he puts.
Yeah, I probably won't put that. I don't know what I'm going to put.
This is when Marty runs into Needles after everything, as we said, is okay, etc. And
Is that
Needles
before or after the train? It's before, right?
It is before
Yeah.
because they have to have a happy ending with it, I believe.
Yes, you're right. You're right. And we talked about this in the last movie that we didn't know who Needles was, right?
They were setting it up.
They were setting it up, but I still didn't love how they did it in the second movie, to be honest with you. But yeah, well, you know who plays Needles?
Oh God, we went over this.
I don't know. We didn't last time because I didn't realize who it was.
It's
it's
Michael Peter Balzari.
It's Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's fucking
Yes.
Flea, dude. Like,
That's cool.
yeah, but yeah, it's Flea pulls up, calls him a chicken. Marty's revving his engine and stuff. Like, we know that this is the scene where he has the accident, and Marty just throws it in reverse and backs up, and you see Flea almost hit that Rolls Royce, and Marty has the realization, like, oh my god, that could have been the accident that ruins my life. Like, yeah,
Marty grew.
yeah, his story arc finally comes to, like, I talked about how I didn't like how they just threw the chicken thing in the second movie because it's not a part of the first movie at all. Marty really doesn't get provoked in the first movie. But I like that we got a full arc in 2 and 3 where, he's a different guy. That's pretty cool.
It's a shame that I didn't realize that Needles was, the antagonist that caused like Back to the Future 2 for Marty's future self at that point. I was just it's been forever, folks, since I've seen like I've been watching these movies before we do the podcast. It's been a long time since I just watched them to watch them.
Well, but that's a problem. That's a problem from a
Exactly.
That's a problem from a storytelling aspect, that someone who's seen the movies still doesn't understand who someone is because they're telling that a year later in a different film. That's a problem.
Correct.
So, but all the problems aside, these movies rip, dude. So let's finish up Back to the Future 3. So Marty goes back to show Jennifer the destroyed DeLorean, and we see the train like gates come down saying that there's a train, but there's no train. And Marty's like, what the hell? And then boom, time machine Doc appears with his train.
Yep, and Doc really just came back to let him know that everything is okay, and he gives Marty a gift, and it's the framed photo that the two of them took. It says to Marty, partner in time, September 5th, 1885.
I'm glad you saw what it said. I didn't notice what it said. So
Jennifer asks about the facts that in the scene prior before Doc comes back, the words "you're fired" fades away, and she says something along the lines of "it's erased." And
of
Doc,
course it's erased.
The future isn't set in stone, but whatever they make of it, and he tells them to make it a good one.
Well, that's an interesting message of this movie because Doc keeps saying that, and that hadn't been a part of the other ones, like really. And he, which isn't a bad thing, but he's Doc is realizing that you can make your own future, which is very, very cool.
we shouldn't muddle with what is there, but you can make your own future. Even if you might not know what it is, you can do everything you can to try and make your life the best it can be for the future.
But you think about it too, like the not muddling thing. Like, we meddled in both of our characters'
Yeah.
futures and saved them, and they're better for it.
Yes, absolutely.
Doc is still alive. Marty doesn't have his terrible accent that he can't play guitar anymore. Doc doesn't die in the past. Marty doesn't die in the past. Like, yeah, no, these movies rip. They are very, very good.
Um, Before we get to the big climactic ending, there is a very famous scene where the little boy that the smallest boy there that Clara and Doc have,
Jules or Vern?
I don't remember which.
I think it's Vern because the smaller one comes out second, so it's probably Vern.
The boy had to piss. Is the rumor. The boy had to piss while he was on set because they retook the scene a couple times. There's this thing that if you look for it, he is pointing at his groin and then he does like a come on motion. Yes, go back and check it out, folks. But it's like, what the hell was he doing? It came out then that apparently the boy just had to piss and he's like, come on, I gotta go. Trying to be like, get this shit over with.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So yeah, they introduce the kids to Marty and Jennifer, and then they say goodbye. And it's funny because Marty goes, "Where are you headed, Doc? Back to the Future?" Because they have to say the name of the movie one more time, and he's like, "Nope, I've already been there." And then the train leaves the tracks and takes flight, and that's the end. That's the conclusion of Back to the Future.
It was a very good way to end the movie, end the trilogy, I should say. We got everything that they hinted at in the first movie, as far as Doc always wanting to have just go to the West. In the time period, we had trials and tribulations the entire way getting there. The second movie, stuff got a little messed up because of Marty needing to grow. And by the third movie, Marty did grow. And he got to make sure his best friend and his partner in time had a good life. And it is really cool that Doc ended up finding love. He was no longer blinded by his love of science. He found something else that truly made him happy. Doc was complete, Marty's complete with Jennifer. And just stuff is going well to put a nice ribbon on this big trilogy.
All right, so I'm gonna put you on the spot here, just to button up Back to the Future as a whole. Tell me your favorite moment in the trilogy.
Favorite moment in the trilogy. I want to see it's gonna be a tie, I believe.
Okay.
I want to say that it has to be the hoverboard scene simply because of how iconic it is, but I do love Griff and his cronies whenever Marty is on the hoverboard.
Cyborg Griff.
Power!
Yeah, yeah.
It's good.
Yeah,
That's iconic.
One thing I didn't love about the third movie we didn't talk about is that they didn't use the same actors for his cronies. It was all different people this time, which I didn't love that, but I understand because, we talked about it. Like, one of his cronies is a big actor now. So he's probably like, I'm not coming back to do a supporting role. F that, dude.
Hard to say. I mean, being shot back to back, I get it. I do believe that might have been the case.
That
Maybe
also doesn't make sense. They shot him back to back. Why didn't we do all those scenes? But unless they are the same actors and just in a really good makeup, but I don't think they are.
That's something people in the comments can let us know. Or we could search it while we're bullshitting my second favorite thing, my tie, I would say, for favorite thing in the trilogy. I want to say that my second or a tie favorite thing in the entire trilogy would have to be the scene where it's the second movie again. As much that is wrong with the second movie, I love the scene where Marty's in the back of Biff's car. Biff thinks he gets rid of him. Marty's on the hoverboard then, and
Yeah.
he's like holding on to the back because it's reminiscent to the beginning of the first movie where he's sketching Tony Hawk's Pro Skater folks on the back of the car. He does that sick flip grab while he grabs the freaking sports almanac, and
Yeah.
Biff goes slamming into a truck of manure and just manure. I hate manure.
Yeah. No, that's
Um,
definitely a good part.
what would be your favorite?
Come on. Everyone knows what my favorite part of these damn movies is. It's the second one when we see George McFly's grave. That is without a doubt the best part of all of these. But if I had to do a second, I mean, you already took the hoverboard one. That one's very good. I would say honestly, and this is going to shock you, George McFly punching Biff. I love it. I love it so much. I really do. I still hate George McFly, but I love that scene so much. That is like the ultimate character arc in a film. Is George McFly in the first movie.
I do love that as well. If that was going to be the end of the trilogy right there before they knew they were making a trilogy, that would have been a fantastic way to button up the movie.
Perfect end of the first movie. Yeah, they didn't need to make 3, but it was so successful they were like, why not? And honestly, I'm glad they did. So that's Back to the Future, man. We need to figure out what we're gonna do for our next movie series, but I'm very happy this is what has started Real Friends. These are our most popular videos, like you were showing me the other day so far. So yeah, if anyone's listening to this and they have a movie series they want Jordan and I to tackle, put it in the comments, shoot us an email, whatever. Let us know. But that is Back to the Future. Do you have any final thoughts you want to give on this movie trilogy before we head out?
In the words of Doc Brown, future is what you make of it, folks. So just keep on keeping on.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah. I don't have any words of wisdom for you. What I will say is in a couple days, hopefully, Jordan and I will be going to see A Working Man and putting that out. And, you'll get 2 episodes back to back. But, yeah, be on the lookout for future episodes. We'll have some coming down the pipeline. We just recorded Rocky Horror Picture Show and Unforgiven, so you should see those shortly. But, yeah, this has been the Real Friends Podcast. Thanks for coming on, Jordan, and we'll see you guys next time.